Welcome to my first video. I'm so excited. My name is Michaela. I've been posting book content on TikTok for probably a little over a year, and recently I just really have fallen in love with making reading vlogs, mainly because I have the memory of a goldfish when it comes to reading. So the second I finish a book, I could not tell you the main character's name, the plot, any twists. Like, it is out of my brain. So I like it just for a video diary of what I was thinking, what my emotions were like when I was going through reading the book, but also super helpful when my friends, like months later, decide to read the books that I've been talking about. And then they start texting me like, oh my God, this twist, or oh my God, this person I'm suspicious of, or whatever it might be. And I have to write back like, I have no clue what you're talking about. With my videos though, I can go back and I can look at them, rewatch it, and then they have no clue that I forgot everything about the book. The only issue is when I make them on TikTok is I have to shorten them so much, or I have to make them in multiple parts, which I don't love. So I figured doing a long form YouTube video would make way more sense. Then I can yap as long as I want. It's way easier to search old videos on YouTube than it is scrolling through my TikTok page. And yeah, I just figured there's more people here that I can reach and talk to about my favorite books. Now, I am a romance reader first and foremost. I love a smutty, spicy book, but I do dabble in fantasy books. I've gotten like more into them probably in the last year and a half. So I definitely read a good amount of fantasy, and I do read a little bit of thriller, but I do go through waves with that. Like, I read a ton in October and I am kind of thrillered out. So I'm taking a little break right now. I also have a book-themed podcast with my best friend. You can watch it here on YouTube. It's at Book Traverse Podcast. I'll link it in the description. And you can also listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But basically, I have a puppy scratching 1 second. But we post 2 videos a month, the first and third Wednesday of the month. And it's formatted more like a book club. So for every episode, we have 1 or 2 books that we read and we go through everything. Hold on, I gotta throw the balls. He doesn't understand I'm doing my first video. We go through like the overall plot, the characters, what we think of it, and we do share spoilers in there. So it's just a fun way for you to read along with us and see what we're thinking. So my goal with this channel is I'm going to take you along on my reading for the entire week. I read quite a lot. I average about 100 books a year. And honestly, any free time I have during the day, I spend it reading. So we get through quite a lot. So I'll just take you with me as I'm reading my books every day and, give you periodic updates as I'm going through them when like big things are happening. And I can't make any promises that these will not contain spoilers because I just cannot control myself when I start yapping. But I will make a promise that if there are spoilers, I will make sure to put it on the screen and give you enough warning to get out of the video or go further in it. So in case you haven't read it, nothing is spoiled for you. So that's the plan for what these are going to look like. All right, so let's get into this week's video. I am already slacking though because I'm filming this at like 2:30 on Sunday, and I've already read a ton this morning because like what else am I doing on the weekend? So this morning I had to finish the ending of Warrior Fae. It's the 5th and final book in the Ruthless Boys series, which is the prequel series for Zodiac Academy. Whew, that was a mouthful. The 5th book was my favorite out of the entire series, and I think it's just because it was super plot heavy, which I liked. It was action packed. The story was moving along very quickly and nicely. The series overall did not love. I don't like the reverse harem trope, so I didn't have high hopes for it just off the jump, but I'm trying to follow the reading order I saw on TikTok for Zodiac Academy. So I read Zodiac Academy books 1 through 3, then it told me to stop, read Ruthless Boys all the way through, and then go back to Zodiac Academy book 4. So I did it. I would say if you are someone who is also following that reading order and you read the first book in Ruthless Boys, which is Dark Fae, and you're not loving it and you don't love that trope, I would honestly just read a summary online for books 2, 3, and 4 and then read book 5, because book 5 is really where things pick up. I mean, the 2 like main plot points that you get in book 1, like you don't find out the results of them till book 5. It is the same plot all 5 books. There's not many subplots. And honestly, there was like 2 little subplots that were interconnected, and they're not even resolved by the end of the series. So I don't know. Then I had to read the excerpt that came out for Onyx Storm in Cosmopolitan magazine. So it was a 3-page excerpt, and I just can't wait until Onyx Storm comes out January 21st. Cannot get here fast enough. So that was fantastic. And now we are jumping into a very Christmas themed week. I have to read 2 Christmas books for the podcast, and we're recording probably the end of this week or on the weekend. So I need to read How My Neighbor Stole Christmas by Meghan Quinn, which I have ready to go on my Kindle. I'm so excited for this one. Meghan Quinn is one of my favorite authors, and I need to know what the candy cane scene is about that everyone's talking. And then we're gonna read The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore, which I'm also excited for. Like, I have really high hopes for this episode. I really liked the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and then I loved the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, so I'm so excited for a little holiday themed episode, especially because our last episode was very, very disappointing what we read. So I think that's all the yapping I have for right now. Let's jump into How My Neighbor Stole Christmas, and I'll see you with the first update. Okay, it is way later now because I got extremely sidetracked earlier, and the lighting is shit because it gets dark at like 4 p.m. and I like to put these colored lights on to set some ambiance. So I'm only about 4 chapters in to the book, and I'm absolutely loving it. I think this will be one of my favorite books from Meghan Quinn. I will always say, she writes the funniest romance books. The banter is so good. This is like next level because the banter is really good between the characters. Like, I'm full on belly laughing reading their conversations, but also the little poems that she's putting at the beginning of the chapters are so funny. And then in chapter 4, she added like a narrator, and it's just reminding me of like when you watch Elf, like you're coming out of the story. I don't know. I'm loving it. It's really funny. So the book follows Story and Taryn, but Story is our main character, and they have to go back to Kringletown, Colorado, which, love the name. It's a town that celebrates Christmas year-round, and they have to go back because their great aunt Cindy has fallen and broken her hip, and she needs someone to take care of her. Taryn's a nurse. She's fine with it, whatever. Story does not want to go. She's like, bring her to California. I don't want to be here, but she's forced to go. The family decides, you're going. And when she gets there and her aunt shows up after, she was being taken care of by some friends, and she says, well, Taryn's gonna, take care of me and clean me and make sure I'm good. And Story, you're gonna go enter this Christmas Kringle competition because I'm sick of coming in second place every year and I'm not taking a year off. Like, I need to win. And Story's not about it. She's like, no, I think we should just take the year off. Like, I'm not going in your place. And the aunt's like, no, you're going in my place. It's a competition for like who's the merriest, who has the most Christmas spirit. And Story gives like a little flashback to, I guess, when she was 18. She participated in one of the Christmas events, and she ended up like hitting a wooden present. It fell into a woman who then like rolled into a river, and she's like, I'm like made a vow, like I'm never doing this again. And now she's gonna be forced to enter all of these different Christmas events for her aunt that she doesn't want to do. We've also met Cole, who is the next door neighbor. This is definitely going to be enemies to lovers meets Grumpy Sunshine. So Story ran into him at the grocery store, and she like pulled this whole stunt of like pretending she didn't remember his name, and you can just tell like he gets so annoyed with her so easily, but he secretly loves her. And we've only had one interaction with them at the grocery store, but she will not stop asking questions and talking, and he's like, can you literally shut up? And she's like, no, I physically can't, because I can't like handle awkward silence. I must fill the space. And I totally related to that. But yeah, Cole, we met his friend Max, and they have really good banter between the two of them. So I'm excited to see how this develops with Cole and Story, and just how the Christmas competition goes and what they have to do. But I'm really loving it so far. Okay, so I am now on chapter 12. I'm about 31% through the book, and I am absolutely loving it. I read a little bit more last night, and then this morning I read while drinking my coffee, and I am eating this book up. So, things that have happened since we last chatted. Cole found out that Story was entering the competition, so now he has entered just completely out of spite. He does not want to see her win. He's like, you're not from here. He does not like things that happened when they were younger, and he's fully only entering to take her down. And he's now recruited his best friend, Max, to be his holly jolly sidekick. And Max is like, buddy, you're never going to win. You are the least jolliest person. You are never in the Christmas spirit. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to do this. So seeing the two of them just plot and plan how they're going to go about these different competitions is absolutely hilarious, because they have to wear sashes around town. There's spies that check like how jolly they're being while out at the grocery store or whatever. Like, it is serious business. So far we've done 2 competitions. The first one was the eggnog competition. So they were given eggnog and then they had to spice it up and make their own rendition, which was really funny. So Story did like a gingerbread one, and then Cole did a dark chocolate hazelnut, which honestly, I'm not an eggnog girl, but those both sound good. And then the second competition was they had to recreate an iconic Christmas scene while upcycling the set they were building. And I'm not even going to spoil what happens in that one, because it was absolutely hilarious. I was not expecting Cole and Max to bring out all the stops like that. It was really funny. And I'm just saying, like, Meghan Quinn, she writes really funny banter. I love her books. But I am full on belly laughing reading this. I can't even tell you how many highlights I have of just things that have made me chuckle. Like, this is obviously a romance book. We haven't really gotten to the romance, but they're definitely enemies to lovers, these two. But it like could be in the comedy category. It is so funny. Her writing is so good. And just when you think like you found your favorite book from her, she writes another one and it just tops everything. So absolutely loving this. I'm gonna keep reading, and honestly, I think we could probably finish tonight or tomorrow morning, which would be fantastic. It is much later. It is 10:30. I'm calling it a night for reading. I made it to, I think I'm on chapter 25. I'm 71% done. So I'm definitely going to finish this up in the morning, but I am loving it. It's still so hilarious. I'm chuckling. I'm really enjoying it. They've gone through 2 more competitions since I last did an update. So they did the light decorating one, and then they just did the candy cane making contest. And I really thought this was where I was going to get the infamous like candy cane scene, and it hasn't happened yet. But the competition just ended, so maybe in the celebration, I don't know. But it hasn't happened yet. I will say I felt like they jumped from like hating each other to like hooking up with each other super quick. They had one conversation in a car. You know, Cole kind of gave his side of why he was upset, and he talked about his parents passing away, which that made sense. But Story's side of like why she just didn't come to the town for 10 years, I feel like is really lackluster. Like, it's, yeah, like I could understand how she'd be embarrassed about what happened, but I don't think it's something big enough to prevent you from coming to visit your own family for 10 years. But definitely liking it. I'm thinking it's definitely going to be above a 4-star at this point. And then, like I said earlier, this is for the podcast, so I'm reading on my Kindle, but Meg sent me a text. Apparently, the paperback version at Barnes & Noble has an extended epilogue, so I had no clue about that. So she's so kind. She was like, I will send it to you so you can read it. And I was like, great, I'll let you know when I'm done. And then the paperback also has illustrations in it, which I wish they would just put on the Kindle. Like, I've read other ebooks that have illustrations, just add it. And I said, please, can you send me the illustration of them in the lederhosens, because that scene cracked me up. And she was so kind to send that to me as well. And then I wrote to her, if only this was in color. If you've read the book, you know exactly why I'm saying that. But enjoying it. I'm going to take Kobe out, go to sleep because I'm exhausted, and we will finish this in the morning, probably while I'm drinking my coffee. And then we'll just cruise on into our next Christmas read. So I will see everyone tomorrow. Happy Tuesday. So I didn't end up reading with coffee like I thought I was going to because I had 10 million tasks pop up. So it's 4 p.m. I'm finally sitting down to read for the first time today, and holy shit, I start reading. Literally the next page I had to open to was the candy cane scene that I was talking about last night. So if I had just stayed up for literally 10 more minutes, I would have read it last night. That scene, you guys, I have never read anything like that in a romance book, and I've read like thousands of books. How did Miss Meghan Quinn think of that, first of all? And I am never going to be able to look at a candy cane the same again. That was crazy, and I totally understand why people are talking about it on TikTok. You know, the first couple things that happened with the candy cane, I was like, okay, this I get. As the scene progressed and the candy cane was going more places, was not expecting that. So I can officially say we have entered the lovers stage of this enemies to lovers book. I literally don't know what to say because I'm like, we're 74% through the book. How do I just keep going? That was wild. Absolutely wild. But I'm going to finish reading this, and I will be back once I have finished the book to give you my final thoughts. Okay, I just finished the book. It was so good. I'm thinking somewhere between like a 4.5 to a 5 star. I don't know, I just feel hesitant giving like a holiday book a 5 star, and there were some cheesy elements, but like the vibes were high. So maybe I'll settle on like a 4.75, but I digress. That book is so Christmas with the Cranks coded. If you've seen that movie and you've read the book, you know exactly what I mean, especially the ending. Like, it was just giving me all the vibes. The last 2 competitions that they did were a Christmas caroling one, and then they had like a Super Santa one where they had to make a stocking, a card, and wrap a present. So those are the competitions that were in it. Really enjoyed. And the ending, perfection. Now I am going to get into spoilers because I do want to talk about the ending more specifically. So if you don't want to know, go to this timestamp. Okay, hopefully everyone's left now. The aunt lying about breaking her hip, loved it, and then was like partnered up with the mom because she felt like the sisters weren't as close and they wanted to prevent something from happening between them. Loved that. I think it would have been better though if the parents had shown up and surprised everyone. I think that would have been a really good like full circle moment because they did allude to like wanting their parents there. Taryn was just giving me like, I did not love her character, but when she went and ripped all the lights off, I'm like, you are crazy. Why don't you people communicate before you make these like crazy decisions? But it was so sweet when Story went and got like the whole town together to put the lights back up on his house because she knew like this was a big deal that he was decorating, and like the first time in 10 years since his parents passed away that he was like enjoying the Christmas season. It was so sweet. And then loved the whole concept of that narrator. It was so funny. It just added a whole nother layer, and I loved how the narrator played into the epilogue. Of course, they had a baby, like, definitely happened when the candy cane scene went down. That's definitely when that happened. And the sister moved in. I'm curious if this will be, like, a series, because they said Max, aka Atlas, he's now entering the competition the next year, and I don't know. I feel like she could do another holiday book next year around Atlas, and I would love that because his character was really funny. Overall, loved it. And now we are moving into The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. It's our second podcast book, and so I need to get this done. It is Tuesday night at like 6:30. I need to get this done by like Thursday afternoon. That way I have time to prep the outline before we film, and I'm not even sure what night we're recording, so that might get pushed up. So I need to jump into that. I should have started with that one first because I feel like now this one, like I was chuckling, and I don't think I'm gonna chuckle through The Christmas Tree Farm. It'll just be cute vibes. So now I feel like I'm gonna like compare it to that, but let's jump in. How is it only Wednesday? I feel like this is already the longest week, and I've been editing as I go, and this video is already like 20 minutes long, so I don't know, might need to rethink these like weekly vlogs and maybe do them by book. Let me know what you prefer. My sweatshirt says it all of how I'm feeling today. Just like, quick little mentee bee, middle of the week. We all have them. Reading updates while we're here. So last night, my last wrap-up clip about the Meghan Quinn book, I made a comment saying, this would be great if she did a sequel about Max and him entering the competition. Yep, just scratch that I said any of that, because Meg sent me the extended epilogue, which is only in the paperback version. And the epilogue covers what happens with Max entering the competition. So no need for a sequel. It's already covered. So just pretend you didn't hear that. But I did start the Christmas Tree Farm. I'm like halfway through it. I think I did like 25% last night, and then I read a little bit this morning, which you saw. And if you've read the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and or the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, it is very similar to what those books are like. They're just kind of, you're there for the vibe, not really the plot. Like, it's nothing crazy. It's not going to be anyone's top book of the year. Like, it is a nice fluffy romance book for the season. That's all it is. So this book follows Kira, who we meet at the end of the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, and she has taken over the Christmas tree farm in the town. And then this book goes into how she ended up getting the Christmas tree farm. So she is a twin, and her twin sister has gotten married and moved to Denmark with her husband. And Kira has always been really dependent on her twin sister and her parents, so she's just like, I'm ready to be independent. And she gets influenced by all of the homesteading trad wives on Instagram, as one does, and she decides she's going to buy a farmhouse. She does not see this farmhouse before she purchases it, shows up and realizes, oh, I bought a Christmas tree farm, and this house is falling apart. So she very quickly realizes that she needs to reopen the farm so she can make money to repair the house and make sure she has heat for the winter. And then one morning she runs into Bennett because she hears his dogs running around outside. And he is Jeannie, who owns the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. He's her brother. He's just in town visiting for like a month or so. And the two of them, like, there's definitely some sparks between them. He is such a fixer. Like, he wants to take care of all the problems. He wants to look at the boiler for her. He wants to help her take care of the house. And she's really trying to prove to herself that she is independent. And that's where we're at. There's not a lot of build up in these books. Like, they very quickly throw you right into the story. So I am going to go finish reading that, and I will be back with my final thoughts. When I just sat down to start reading, I realized I forgot to give one important update about the plot. So Bennett and Kira, they met, there's some sparks, whatever. But the town basically asks Bennett to go and just check up with Kira and like what's going on with the farm, because she, in the beginning, really didn't want anyone around her, but they're convinced that there's something buried at the farm because the previous owner like left this note. And so people are like, there's either dead bodies there or there's like a treasure buried. So they were asking him to like scope it out. So that's why he keeps running into her, because he's trying to find reasons to go to the farm. One, to see her, but also like for this mission that the town put him on. That's like an important update to the plot of like why they keep running into each other. Okay, now I'm gonna get back into reading. It's Friday afternoon. I totally forgot to pick up the camera and do any updates yesterday. I'm so sorry. So here's what you missed yesterday. I finished The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore. It's that third book in the Dream Harbor series. And as I predicted, it was just like a book for the vibes. I gave it 3 stars. I felt like all the other ones, it wasn't super plot heavy. It's just like a feel-good seasonal book. But this one, I felt like was missing that community feel that the first two had. It follows Kira and Bennett, and they're both outsiders. Like, Kira's new, she's moving here from Georgia, and Bennett is Jeannie's brother, so he's just here like visiting. So they're not really ingrained in the town, and Kira really doesn't try to become part of the town. It's really not until the end of the book, and a lot of it happens off page, which I wish we got. Just feel like the first 2 books, like, the town was really involved in the relationships. It was just giving like that small town gossipy vibe. And this one didn't have that as much. I also kind of liked that aspect of the mystery that they were trying to find, like what was buried on the farm. And I felt like halfway through the book, it just kind of fell off. And then all of a sudden in the epilogue, we find like it comes back up. So it was cute. It was a really short read. I think it was like 350 pages. I will say though, based off the title, you would feel like it's a super Christmassy book. I do think if you removed the fact that she's specifically on a Christmas tree farm, like if this was just a regular farm, you would not label it a Christmas book. There are 2 scenes where she goes to a tree lighting and they do Secret Santa, but outside of those 2 small scenes, there's really not a lot of holiday vibes to it. So if you are picking the book up thinking it's like a Christmassy read, I would just say like it's more of a seasonal cozy read, not really Christmassy. But I'm glad I got those over with because we need to record tomorrow morning, so I was able to finish those in time and get the outlines done, which was great. Now we are at the part of the week that I am looking forward to the most. Obviously I was really excited to read the Christmas books, but like I knew I had to read them this week, which I sometimes just hate being on like a set schedule of what I need to read when, but it is time. Yep, we are jumping back into Zodiac Academy. So I've already read the first 3 books in this series, and book 3 has the craziest cliffhanger, and then everyone on TikTok was like, okay, pause, and I need to go read Ruthless Boys. And I said earlier at the beginning of this video, like I just really didn't love that series, and I was trying to read those so fast so I could get back to Zodiac Academy, and of course those books took me weeks to get through. So I have not been with my Zodiac Academy friends since like the beginning of October. I am so excited. I need to know like where this is even going to start because of that ending of book 3, and I do know now that I'm kind of on this half of the series that I'm in for some emotional roller coasters, a lot of pain. I see a lot of people crying on TikTok at the end of these books, so I'm very curious to see what is going to happen in here. But I'm so excited just to get back with like Darcy, Tori, Darius, Orion, like the whole crew, and I'm really hoping we're past like the bullying part of it. That was the hardest part to get through in books 1 and 2 specifically. The bullying was really not my favorite, so I'm hoping we are past all of that now and we can just build on the relationships and figure out where we're going. Like I don't even know where this series is going. I'm just so excited to jump in though. So I'm gonna start this and I will give you updates throughout, and this is the part of the video where like it will be difficult for me to talk about this without giving spoilers, so I'll just make sure to note if there are any. Happy Saturday from me and Kobe. We made it to the end of the week. I'm in a Christmas like ugly sweater because we recorded the podcast this morning with the 2 Christmas books, and when I tell you we had so many technical difficulties, so who even knows how that episode is going to turn out, but we both were on the same wave with our ratings and thoughts on the books, which is always nice. But yeah, I have been reading Zodiac Academy. Let me see what I'm at. I'm a little less than 20% into the 4th book, which is Shadow Princess. I am loving it. Like, it is crazy that the same authors wrote Ruthless Boys that wrote this series, because the writing is so much more fast-paced. I feel like in Zodiac Academy, it just threw us right in. And so here we're gonna start with some spoilers because I'm 4 books into the series. I can't talk about it without probably spoiling something that has happened earlier. So go to this timestamp if you don't want spoilers. Okay, hopefully they've left now. So I was so curious after the book 3 cliffhanger what was going to happen. Like they've all, Tori, Darcy, Darius, and Lance, all as well as Lionel, and can't remember her name, but Lance's mom. They all now have the 5th element of the Shadow Realm. I was so curious how that was going to affect everyone, like their personalities, how they went about their day-to-day. And also at the end of the 3rd book, we see the twins being coerced by Lionel to not remember everything that has happened in that pit. So I didn't know, like in book 4, if they were going to understand why they were hearing these voices and had this other power. We start off strong. Confirmed the girls are phoenixes, but they are hoping that Lionel will assume that they are fire harpies because the phoenix ends up being the most powerful order you can be as a fae, and they have not been around for thousands of years, so they can really rival Lionel for the power. So they don't want him to find out because he will kill them. And this was like Lance and Darius that were pretty much spearheading this, like, let's keep this a secret thing. But Lance is going to help them do some research so they can learn how to control their powers, what they're even capable of. But basically what we've learned so far is they regenerate their power by fire. Now, because they also have all 4 elements, that means that basically they can regenerate their own magic, so their supply is unlimited. Crazy. They cannot be manipulated by any of the orders that can mess with your mind, so they can't be coerced. They can't be affected by the sirens, which Professor Washer will be very upset about that. And they can't be affected by dragon fire, but they can, like, destroy a dragon. So it's pretty awesome. Gabriel from the Ruthless Boys series is now the new tarot professor, and he is really helping the girls. He noticed that they're phoenixes, and he is working with them to figure out the clues from Falling Star. And the only other big thing that has happened, 2 big things actually that has happened. One, Geraldine and Max hooked up on the night of, like, the eclipse or whatever. I can't remember what it was. I love that because Max now is, like, obsessed with her, and she cannot be bothered, and she cracks me up the way she talks. So that was so unexpected, but I'm so here for it. And then Xavier is basically just dealing with the brunt of Lionel when Darius is at school, and it just seems to be getting worse now that Lionel has the shadow power, because it just makes him more angry all the time. So that's where we're at so far. I think Xavier and Sophia will end up having some type of relationship, but we have to see. They're texting right now because she's helping him with, like, becoming a Pegasus. I'm loving it though. Ugh, you don't even understand. I don't know if I just have, like, a newfound appreciation because I really hated Ruthless Boys, or it just really is that good. But I'm so excited to be back. I'm so excited to fly through the rest of the series, and I am so curious, 1, where this book is going, 2, where the whole series is going. I have no predictions right now, but I'm going to probably read a little bit more tonight, and I just know I'm probably going to forget to close this out, so I'm actually going to end this week's video here, and then we'll start filming for next week's vlog tomorrow, and we will be, continuing with Shadow Princess. So I'm thinking for next week it'll probably be Shadow Princess, and then probably Zodiac Academy 5, and then we'll see if we can fit a 3rd book in there. But next week will probably be Zodiac Academy heavy. So thank you for watching my very first reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know if you have any book recommendations that are similar to these books that I've read. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, follow me on Goodreads, follow me on TikTok. Links will be in the description, and I can't wait to see you next week.